Good morning. For the first time in a long number of months now, it seems, I'm not going down to do a recording in church, and I'm not on holiday either. And I'm preparing to welcome folks back to church on Sunday. I will be going down to the church later on this morning just to check a few things out and to make sure that some things are in place, particularly for our live stream. And so for those of you who aren't going to be able to join with us on Sunday morning in the building, please do tune into YouTube from around about or just before 11 o'clock, and the live stream should be coming up there and then. So please do watch out for that and join us. And you will be participating with those of us who are in the building as well. And we want you to feel that you're part of us as you come to worship. And as you join in the service through YouTube. For those of you who are planning to be in the building, I would recommend that you try and be there reasonably early. We don't want a kind of a 5 to 11 rush. If you can get there sort of from about 10:45 onwards, that would be great, and just try to stagger your entry into the building. I refer you to the video again, just to remind you of that, and we'll probably put that up again on the Facebook page just to remind you of all the things that need to be in place as you come to church on Sunday. This morning we're going to do things a little bit differently in terms of our devotion as well. This will be the last of these, although on Friday mornings like this I will be doing little bits of intro into Sunday and what to expect, and that's what we're doing this morning. So I want to read to you from the book of Lamentations, and I'll explain why in a moment, just a few verses. It's Lamentations 3 and from verse 19. Remember my affliction and my wanderings, the wormwood and the gall. My soul continually remembers it and is bowed down within me. But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I will hope in him. The book of Lamentations is, or has been, attributed to the prophet Jeremiah. And it's Jeremiah that we're going to be looking at from this Sunday for the next few weeks. In the book of Lamentations, we see the utter destruction and devastation of Jerusalem before, or as the people are taken into exile after the Babylonian invasion. And it is utter devastation. The book of Lamentations doesn't let up in the horror of the picture that it portrays of just the what has happened to Jerusalem. And it goes through it. In chapter 1 it talks about the idolatry and sin that has led to this judgment to come upon God's people. In chapter 2 it talks about the extent of the invasion and the destruction that has been brought about in Jerusalem. In chapter 3 we go to the depths of the distress and the despair that the people feel as they look around them at this once beautiful city. And in chapter 4 we see the humiliation and downfall of the leaders of the people who were set to rule over them, who have now been brought to nothing. And in chapter 5 of that short book, we have the question of whether restoration is possible or whether God has rejected his people forever. But in the middle of the book come these verses that we just read. Right in the middle of the book, in chapter 3, verses 19 to 24, he remembers how awful it has all been. He remembers, as he says, the wormwood, the poison, the gall, the bitterness of all that has taken place. Constantly it's going round and round in his head. But then he says, this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. And there are three things that he calls to mind about God that give him hope in the midst of distressing and devastating circumstances. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. That's a theme that we've seen repeated again and again in the Psalms as we've looked at them over these weeks and months as well. That this idea of God's covenant love, God's promised, guaranteed love to his people, the people that he chose from nothing and from nowhere, the people that he rescued out of slavery, the people that he led into a new land. These are the people that he loves. These are the people who his covenant is with, and he has promised that he will continue with them. And that steadfast love, says the writer of Lamentations here, never ever ceases. It is still there, it is still real, and is still to be held on to. His mercies never come to an end. Endless mercy. Endless mercy. So that even when the destruction that they see all around them is so devastating, it's not total. There is mercy in this picture. Mercy is shown sometimes in strange ways. And in this, the mercy is shown in the exile. People are taken from Jerusalem, taken to live in Babylon. They have to put down roots in Babylon because they're there for 70 years. But there is mercy in that, because in that people who are taken, there is the hope of restoration one day, and that comes about. We read about it in the books of Ezra and Nehemiah. And so there is life and there is hope for these people, even in utter devastation. And that is testimony to the great faithfulness of God. Great is your faithfulness to his promises, to be with his people and to be that covenant loving God, and to help them and show mercy to them and go with them even in the midst of despair. And so the writer of Lamentations, if it is Jeremiah, we don't really know, but he says this: the Lord is my portion, says my soul, therefore I will hope in him. The Lord is my portion is him saying he's all I need in life or death. Whether Jerusalem is thriving and bustling like it was before, or whether it's a wasteland, the Lord is all I need. He remains. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever, the writer of Hebrews says about Jesus. He is my portion. And because he is my portion, endings and beginnings, well, they come and they go. But the Lord remains, and I will put my hope in him. On Sunday, we'll start to look at the call on Jeremiah's life and how he is called to tell people that an ending is coming. The passage of scripture we're looking at on Sunday is Jeremiah 1, which happens 40 years before this destruction of Jerusalem. It's the beginning of Jeremiah's ministry, but already he knows the ending. And yet, in that, there is that hope in God. And so today, as we plan our return to church, and also as we come out of this time of isolation and lockdown and pandemic, and even though it's still not over and things are a little bit difficult still at the moment, and we're not quite sure what the next few weeks will bring, still we put our hope in God. He is our portion. His steadfast love, his endless mercy, his great faithfulness are still ours to hold on to. I hope that you'll do that today. God bless.